Kramer says payment to Koiari landowners is illegal. Madang families petition government over killings. Eastern Highlands and China's Yunnan province create new market.
This is National EMTV News with Jeremy Mogi.
Good evening and welcome to Friday's news. Extorting money from government by shutting down public service over delayed benefits is illegal. Police Minister Brian Kramer says the payment of more than 4 million kina to the recent strike by Koiari landowners is uncalled for. Kramer says an investigation will be established and those responsible will be questioned by police.
Despite the government releasing a 4.2 million check payment to the Koiari landowners, the police minister says the payment was illegal. He says landowners must not hold the public in ransom by shutting down services. Kramer says this will not be entertained going forward.
The idea that they can shut down critical infrastructure, hold the government to ransom and the people of Port Moresby, and to extort money. I've had discussions with the state solicitor, I've had discussions with the Solgen. They've confirmed that this payment was not lawful, there was no basis for it, it did not follow the procedures.
The police minister says the state cannot write checks every day to dissatisfied landowners for that matter. Kramer says there are procedures to approach state agencies to access benefits by proper channeling of funding.
According to the government, it must be signed off by the state solicitor. Then a submission then comes to NEC, NEC then approves, then it gets appropriated in the budget. Government doesn't just write checks, anytime it wants to. These things must be appropriate in the budget, and on that basis, then they can make the payment.
According to the Koiari landowners, the Finance Department, through Secretary Dr. Ken Nangan, made known that only the Chief Secretary, Isaac Lupari, had powers to release the payment. The landowners then shut down the Rauna 2 power station after what they described as direct neglect by those in authority.
We've been going down to Wulupindi House, Finance Office, and Manasupe House. There was no good response. So I think we have decided that I think this is the best way that we will bring the government attention to our very own land so that they can bring what we need and give it to us here, deliver it to us.
An investigation team is in place to investigate the matter. Minister Kramer says those responsible will be interrogated. He says the investigation will commence soon.
Police have set up a team. They are calling those individuals that were involved in shutting down Rauna Station to make themselves available. They will complete the investigation, and where sufficient evidence is provided, lay appropriate charges.
Jack Lapava Jr., National EMTV News.
Families of the two men killed, together with PMV owners, presented their petitions to police and the Madang Provincial government today. The petitions called for a permanent solution to the continuous armed holdups along the Ramu-Madang highway. The petitions were presented after two men were killed at Nauru on Tuesday when the bus they were traveling in was held up.
He was the first bus.
This morning, the families of the two young men killed, including the PMV owners, Madang PMV Association and citizens, gathered at the Jomba police station to present their petitions. They were met by the Provincial Police Commander and members of the force in Madang to air their grievances and present their petitions. They say they have been victims of continuous armed holdups where lives have been lost, property stolen and damages to vehicles by criminals.
Okati handle driver from me off. He was the first bus. Okati me offload is a place now. He died behind him. Dianu behind him is the second bus. First bus, MKC Bagara, driver from me okati handle him off. Now all windscreen, no side, no front, no front, no side, only that's the bus. Armos, that's the bus. That's my first bus. Only cut him driver from me off. Now me can lead.
We do one blow with him, though, just levy blow rota, hold up.
The frustrated relatives and PMV owners say road is the cheapest means of transport for most of the Papua New Guineans. Yet the national and provincial governments are not making it a priority, including sealing of the roads. They are questioning leaders in Madang province over the long-term plans in protecting people from criminal activities, saying the government cannot react to situations but must be proactive.
If like a problem, our policemen here, only look at vehicle, only look at house plus stop. Now kind of stuff, this is a problem. And what is the minister doing? The particular minister is supposed to be looking at such issues. Long putting plenty policemen come lo yellow Madang, you make a housing problem lo police.
The concern was the Madang police and like him a lot of issues no car especially. So if asking police ministers suppose he can look at the Madang police na pa mo ni plaka wala recognition na din on the race na Madang.
The frustrated PNV owners, concerned citizens and families of the two young men killed are giving a 7 days notice to elected leaders, including community leaders, for a third meeting next Friday.
There will be distraction in Madang. All people from Madang, you will talk. Someone said, come up to Yellow Friday. By that distraction of Madang town. And that's all. Then you come arrest him as a minister.
Martha Louise, National EMTV News, Madang.
Meanwhile, Madang MP and Police Minister Kramer says the lawlessness in Madang is also experienced around the country, but says Madang needs more police presence in communities. He said an investigating team from Port Moresby is now in Madang to assist police. He was also adamant that lawlessness in Madang does not require a state of emergency to be declared.
At this stage, I don't think it's necessary to declare a state of emergency, given what it takes to declare a state of emergency in terms of funding and the series of threat. What we have is a general sense of lawlessness. What we need is a big part for police presence. But this issue in Madang is right around the country.
The national government has given assurance that it will support the commission of inquiry into the 3 billion Kina UBS loan. That's according to Deputy Prime Minister and Attorney General Davis Stephen. The inquiry is set to commence on 27th January 2020 and end on the 27th of July 2020. However, during the public hearing on Monday this week, it was revealed that the commission needs an additional 27 million Kina. Tekla Gunga reports.
A public hearing by the full commission on Monday highlighted the 6 phases the commission will cover in the 6-month period to complete the inquiry. The full commission includes Sir Salamo India and John Gilmore as chairman of the commission and commissioner respectively. The commission will also consist of counsels and solicitors. However, because of the delays within the Office of the Solicitor General and the Board of the National Procurement Commission, there was no solicitor or counsel present.
We're still able to deal with preparatory work for the Commission to be able to sit in early 2020 to conduct the actual inquiry in terms of receiving evidence.
The inquiry into the 3 billion Kina UBS loan comes after a report produced by the Ombudsman Commission concluded that the leaders and persons mentioned in the findings had failed to comply with proper processes and procedures relating to laws on the borrowing of the 1.4 billion Australian dollar loan. The report named James Marape and Peter O'Neill as then Finance Minister and Prime Minister respectively to face the Leadership Tribunal.
Took this undertaking to call a commission of inquiry, knowing full well the challenges that we face. But Marape Stephen government is aware that our people have placed the corruption perception and the fight against that perception as a priority. And unfortunately or fortunately, it's going to cost us money, but that's I call that a needful expense. Unlike and of course, as you know, the Public Accounts Committee is currently conducting its duties, and they too have their needs in terms of resourcing. The police department continues to do its work, and we are going to manage these issues because our people demand it, and it's our duty and responsibilities as government to deliver it.
The COI needs an additional funding of 27 million kina, which was approved by the Prime Minister in September. This is to cover all aspects conclusively in relation to the borrowing of the 3 billion kina loan.
The Act in this country is very clear. It restricts non-registered Papua New Guinea lawyers from holding themselves out or performing functions and duties of a lawyer without being properly certified. And that's a process that is clear, and that's, I'm aware that the Commissioner has requested, and that process is currently underway for proper licensing of non-Papua New Guinean resident lawyers or registered lawyers. So I'm happy that we do not conduct a commission of inquiry that is flawed, that is not set up and operating according to law. So,
Thaklagunga, National EMTV News.
A massive tree planting exercise will commence in 2020. Environment and Conservation Minister Wera Mori says by 2030, more than 10 million trees must be planted. Minister Mori has also flagged logging companies to operate within laws so reforestation exercise is maintained. This follows the report of a rise in temperature by 1.5 degrees Celsius starting next year.
Returning from the COP25 meet in Madrid, Spain, the Environment Minister spoke highly of how best developing economies like Papua New Guinea will address the rise in temperature and its effects. Minister Mori says the economy, flora and fauna and infrastructure developments like roads will be affected with severe heat.
These weather patterns had drastic consequences. It's a threat to our food security. But also it has given the government bigger challenges.
Reforestation is now the focus for concerned authorities. The Environment Minister says massive tree planting exercise throughout the country will begin. He believes this will alleviate heat concerns by cushioning the carbon deposit.
Where we are going to start planting trees, at least if we can plant 1 million trees a year for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years. This is so that we can now increase our capacity to hold carbon dioxide. We want to increase the capacity as a reservoir for carbon dioxide.
Through the Department of Environment and Conservation, agencies like SEPA, CCDA and development partners will work together to mitigate for best outcomes. Dialogue between agencies has commenced.
We are going to aggressively see how best we can start the tree planting approach to help address the current rate of deforestation and degradation.
With reforestation and a ban on excessive use of limestone substance, logging companies will be scrutinized by relevant government agencies. Minister Mori says though the country is benefiting from logging exports, regulation of permits to operate and rehabilitation of the forest must be priority.
I'd like to put on all logging companies on notice that I will take measures for them to account as to why they are not meeting the permit conditions of reforestations.
The massive tree planting exercise is expected to begin in 2020. Jekyll Pava Jr., National EMTV News.
Still ahead on National EMTV News, Eastern Highlands and Yunnan province of China forge partnership to market coffee. That story and more when we come back. Welcome back to the news. The Eastern Highlands provincial government is forging a partnership with the Yunnan province of China, which could open up a coffee market for Eastern Highlands coffee in China. While China is known for tea, Deputy Director General from Yunnan's Foreign Affairs Office, Jia Jiangfeng, says coffee consumption is also rising. Eastern Highlands Governor Peter Numu says this partnership will grow investment and trade for the province.
The Eastern Highlands provincial government plans to strengthen relations with the Yunnan province in China as a way to grow trade and investment for the province. This week, government officials from Yunnan visited Goroka for the first time and have already shown interest in the Eastern Highlands coffee industry.
Now, Eastern Highlands provincial government, we've created a coffee company called Rumbia Coffee Export. Now, we want to promote that. Open doors for the investors outside to trade with us in terms of coffee. We start with coffee and other produce the rest of the fresh produce falls in line.
The Eastern Highlands already has a partnership with the Fujian province of China, aiding in the development of mushroom and rice farming. With the Yunnan province, they will start by focusing on coffee.
We want to do the exchange and the cooperation in a manner of being step by step.
At the moment, Germany remains the largest importer of PNG coffee. While China is known for tea, Yunnan's Foreign Affairs Deputy Director General Xie Jianfeng says coffee consumption is also increasing.
We will encourage more young people to drink coffee so that we can conduct our future cooperation.
Now there are more and more Chinese consumers are looking for different flavors, different tastes of coffee. So I think PNG's coffee will be a new product and will be a new flavor for Chinese consumers. I think the cooperation will be promising.
The Yunnan delegation have also invited the Eastern Highlands governor and the team to attend the China South Asia Exposition next year.
Province, when I got elected as the governor, the priority is trade and investment, road infrastructure and agriculture. And we are now opening Eastern Highlands' door to create more friends internationally for direct investment in the province.
Lucy Kopana, National MTV News, Goroka.
About 400 women from the Moresby Northeast electorate received vouchers worth between 1,000 and 5,000 kina from the district fund as assistance to enhance their small business activities. 1 million kina was allocated by John Kaupa under DSIP. This funding is to support local SMEs and to help families generate their own income.
According to local MP John Kaupa, this year the Family Beat project was launched to enhance and empower women and youths through inclusive SME growth project. The project has allowed them to begin various SMEs from the lowest income generating business activities to owning trade stores or poultry production. The member and his district development authority allocated more than 1 million kina through vouchers to assist them purchase goods and staff to grow their small business activities.
Ego adventure tintin blow you law working business law family in a somebody family in the same time legal money stuff you must back him law bank where you blow all get a got account finish longer.
Kaupa appealed to all recipients to make use of the assistance and generate interest within their SMEs to support themselves.
How you use it, Mr. W? Now you use it finish is away. Opportunity come once.
He says the vouchers provided will be given according to the type of SMEs they are engaged in.
Let me give this the first grant, law assist him all mama, law go inside the 1M activities, all the working staff. The amount is from 1,000 to 5,000.
Suli, National MTV News.
More than 300 Papua New Guineans are now ready for the formal workforce after acquiring business skills through various training courses offered at the MAPEX Training Institute. Among the guests at the third business course graduation for this year was Samurai Mura MP E.C. Henry Leonard. Cadet reporter Pamela Barara reports.
With the vision of providing an alternative education system for student dropouts, this week, MAPEX Training Institute graduated the third batch of business students for this year. The Institute's Chief Executive Director, Marcus Kara, says the institution's biggest challenge this year has been funding and competition from other training institutes.
In terms of infrastructure, development or improvement, we need funds to whatever, but we only utilize students' school fees. But we need partners, in this area to boost our, expansion. So right now, we need partners like members and, donor agencies and also other development partners.
Since the institution's establishment in 2015, it has been offering training programs in both business and plant operator courses. Students receive various business course certificates and diplomas, including accounting, cabin crew training, and human resource management.
That's the great warning for.
Member for Samurai Murwa, Izzy Henry Leonard, who gave the keynote address, said that education is a priority and students are a resource in this sector.
Whilst we have the opportunity to benefit from those resources, let us reinvest those resources into our children through education. We must always reinvest the resources in our children. We must do that. Because the only resource that will never run out and that is sustainable, maybe others are there, but the most important resource that I want to emphasize on is our children. And the future is now. If we want our future to be certain, let's invest in our children. That's a certainty that we have. So when I became the member for Samurai Murwa, I made sure that education is my priority.
MAPEX Training Institute currently has 7 campuses around the country, including Leh and Kokopo. It also plans to expand to other centers in the near future. Pamela Barara, National EMTV News.
Over 30 trainees graduated today from the Kumul Petroleum Academy in Port Moresby. The graduates were encouraged to develop lifelong knowledge and practical skills that will help boost the oil and gas sector in PNG. Correct reporter Natasha Ovoy with the details.
The Kumul Petroleum Academy today graduated over 30 trainees with certificates at their Idubada campus in Port Moresby. In his opening remarks, the Managing Director for Kumul Petroleum Holdings Limited, Wapu Sonk, congratulated the graduates for being a part of a prestigious training program.
And hopefully we can expand the program to energy and the mining skills development as well. So we have those skills development happening all at one place. I really want to congratulate all of you once again. You'll have been a really good, you guys have a good future in this industry.
He also thanked the Academy's partner, the Site Group International, and sponsors ExxonMobil PNG and Kumul Petroleum Holdings Limited, saying the program wouldn't be a success without their support. The Academy's Training Center Manager, Julian Betts, said the program was basically to develop capable employees for PNG, especially in oil and gas sector.
Okay, now these trainees are studied for oil and gas. They studied one of 4 trades: instrumentation, mechanical, electrical, or operations. The whole point of this place is to provide jobs for PNG nationals.
This is the second batch passing out from the Academy's training program. The third batch is expected to pass out in October of next year. Natasha Ovoy, National EMTV News.
The Department for Foreign Affairs and Trade ended the year on a high note. A luncheon was hosted today by Aitape Lumi MP Patrick Pruich, who was appointed Foreign Affairs Minister in a government reshuffle this year.
The Department of Foreign Affairs and International Trade ended their year with a luncheon today, in which accomplishments were made. The occasion was even more significant with the special invited guest, Sir Michael Somare. The Founding Father spoke of foreign policies PNG now has. He addressed Minister Patrick Pruich and his staff, expressing how proud he was.
Yes, we've gone through all the problems. All this happened in the past. Everything under the water now. Today, we are proud people. Foreign Minister, I'm very proud that you could invite me to your luncheon, which you're not supposed to. But I'm glad that I could speak to young people here who are sitting, young men and women of Papua New Guinea. And you carry the image Papua New Guinea. Yes. You're the department that waves the flag. You're the department that goes around telling people about what your country is. You're great messengers.
It was also the first time for Patrick Pruich to address his department since his appointment as minister. He acknowledged his staff and said that it will ensure sufficient resources are given back to his department.
We let our country down if we don't resource them. So let me assure you that under my watch as Foreign Minister, as an International Trade Minister, I will do all my best to ensure that there is sufficient resources given to us to perform our obligation as diplomats of our country.
The luncheon also saw the announcement of a communication strategy which will be presented to Minister Pruich, the launching of the FPWP Meet 2020, all to create more awareness and recognition about the relevance of the department's work. Benjamin Manumbi, National EMTV News.
Stories making headlines when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back. Turning overseas, Australia's bushfire crisis is taking a tragic turn, with New South Wales mourning the loss of 2 volunteer firefighters. Both fathers, both in their 30s, killed on their way to battle flames threatening communities. At least 12 other crew have been hurt, fighting hundreds of fires across 3 states.
The soundtrack of Australia's summer. Crackling flames, sirens, a sense of panic as bushfires overwhelm yet another community.
It's spotting ahead of itself, so you guys have got to be ready. It might not look that the main front is there, because it's spotting ahead of itself. If you see anything, get out.
These apocalyptic scenes are just south of Sydney as temperatures spiked.
It's so distressing because they're in panic mode, we're in panic mode.
At least 40 more homes have been lost, firefighters struggling to cope.
The fire is as bad as it gets.
The speed of the flames taking residents by surprise.
It was just a fireball. It's just can't explain it. It just cracks, fires, explodes and travelled so fast.
Locked in an unprecedented battle, firefighters do what they can.
You did really well. We've got you. There you go. I'm sorry. It's okay. You're doing a really good job.
All we're trying to do now is just save lives.
But today, devastating news. 2 of their own killed after a tree came down in front of a truck, causing it to roll. 32-year-old Jeffrey Keaton and 36-year-old Andrew O'Dwyer were volunteers. Their sacrifice honoured by family, friends, colleagues and officials at the fire station where they served.
Everybody feels for these people and their families, and people have got to try and put that aside and keep going.
3 others were injured, while 3 more firefighters suffered serious burns after being overrun by fire.
It just highlights the conditions that people are operating in, just how dangerous it is.
In Sydney, the Emerald City again turned orange as temperatures hit the 40s, and as New South Wales swelters, the rest of the country suffers too. Yesterday's temperatures breaking a freshly set record for the hottest day ever, reaching an average of 41.9 degrees, large parts enduring more than 45 degrees. The heat also turning on the Prime Minister after Scott Morrison left for a Hawaiian holiday amid the crisis, now saying he'll be returning to Sydney, offering regret for any offence caused.
I don't hold a hose, mate, and I don't sit in the control room. That's the brave people who do that are doing that job, but I know that Australians would want me back at this time after these fatalities.
Those on the ground trying to take advantage of cooler temperatures today.
If we don't get some level of containment, it's just going to end up awful tomorrow.
The heat forecast to spike again, meaning many on the front lines won't be home for Christmas.
A gunman has killed 1 person and injured 5 in an attack on Russia's spy headquarters in Moscow. Security officers shot and killed the gunman. Now investigators are trying to confirm his motive.
Tonight, an attack in the heart of Russia's state security. A lone gunman opening fire just before 6 o'clock outside the headquarters of the feared FSB, Russia's successor to the KGB. Eyewitnesses witnesses capturing the terror as shots rang out in the streets around the FSB's notorious Lubyanka building. Panicked crowds fleeing. We've seen dozens of police now converge on the intelligence headquarters as they try and take down this armed assailant. The police say they've got it under control, but it's still a very active scene. This man says he saw the gunman dressed in black shoot a traffic cop. One officer seen lying motionless in the street. 5 people wounded, an FSB officer dead, the gunman killed. Tonight, his motive is unknown, but there are fears this was a terrorist attack. And as the chaos unfolded, less than half a mile away, President Putin, the ex-head of the KGB himself, was honouring his former comrades, toasting their success in stopping extremist attacks.
Boosted by a big election win, Britain's Prime Minister Boris Johnson laid out a bold blueprint for Britain's future. At the core, Brexit, of course, with a hard and fast deadline of January the 31st, and that's reigniting a Scottish drive for a divorce of its own.
A deja vu moment. The last time the Queen trumpeted the government's agenda was just 9 weeks ago, but this time, buoyed by a huge majority, Boris Johnson has swagger, the monarch declaring his crowning plan for Britain's future, Brexit.
My government's priority is to deliver the United Kingdom's departure from the European Union on the 31st of January.
Formalities over, the Prime Minister vowing to also deliver on health, education, housing, crime. And it's clear he's in it for the long game.
This is not a programme for 1 year or one parliament. It is a blueprint for the future of Britain. Just imagine where this country could be in 10 years' time.
But with Brexit now a near certainty, the very future of the United Kingdom is under threat. The Scottish National Party, also boosted by a huge election majority, wants out and is demanding the power to call a new referendum on Scottish independence, a chance to stick with the EU.
And it is for the Prime Minister to explain to the people of Scotland why he is denying Scotland the right to choose our own future. And can I say to the Prime Minister, it is not a good look to see him playing with his phone rather than listening to the legitimate demands of the Scottish National Party.
So if Boris Johnson simply isn't interested in allowing Scotland to vote on breaking free, what's the next move?
The more they show complete and utter contempt for Scottish democracy, the more support for independence will rise.
A Scottish uprising against English control may only be for the brave of heart, but it wouldn't be unprecedented.
You're watching National EMTV News. Trukai Sports is next. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back. An important announcement will be made tomorrow regarding the PNG Games in Mendi, Southern Highlands next year. This to come following a meeting of all stakeholders involved in the PNG Games. While there is no concrete information on the Games, the Director for Marketing and Major Events of the PNG Sports Foundation, John Susuve, says it's highly likely that the Games will be deferred.
The local sportsmen and women in the country are yet to know whether the PNG Games scheduled for 2020 in Mendi, Southern Highlands, will still proceed as planned. This comes amidst concerns over venue and safety for the country's local sporting tourists who will travel to the Highlands to take part in the 8th PNG Games.
The deferral at this stage is unofficial at the moment until the Executive Council of the PNG Games meet formally to make that endorse the decision, and that decision will be passed to the Vice Minister to the Prime Minister's responsible Minister responsible for sports. But
PNG Games Mendi Committee Chairman Sape Molumi says despite the understatement, the province is ready to host the Games.
We already constructing the main stadium for the track and field events. The track is already under production as we are speaking in China, and it will be arriving in January, February. And by March we will have a track. and all the other little courts, volleyball, you're talking about beach ball, you're talking about hockey, everything will be hosted. And we're looking up to about 19 courts that will be hosted in Southern Highlands. And we're looking at 2 or 3 districts that will be involved. One is Kagwa, which will be hosting soccer, and Nipa will be hosting basketball.
It is understood a council meeting will be held this Saturday to determine what might be.
There will be an executive council meeting this Saturday. They will be deciding on the sports policy of the 4 years cycle of game. Yeah. So if that happens, that will be in 2021. But even if it happens in 2021 or 2020 November, the host organizing committee is prepared to host the games.
The director for major events and marketing has already given a hint of what is expected.
But it's likely that the games will be deferred on the understanding that rescheduled. As per the national sports policy launching next year, we want to follow the cycle of events. So we are on par with the national sporting federations and their calendar of events. Not only that, but we want to also respect the PNG Olympic Committee with regard to their cycle of events.
The PNG Games is the country's local Olympics, providing an avenue for raw talents from the provinces to expose their potential to the national selectors. The last PNG Games was held in Kimbe, West New Britain Province in 2017. The government in the 2020 budget appropriated 15 million kina for the Games. Bradley Valenaki, National EMTV Sports.
Chukai Sport continues after the break. Don't go away.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome back to Chukai Sports. New Zealand Breakers are just moments away from their tip-off game against the Melbourne Phoenix in Christchurch. It's Christmas come early for Canterbury-born Ethan Rusbach, the 27-year-old becoming a fully rostered player after Cory Webster's exit.
It's all smiles for Ethan Rusbach, finally realising his pro basketball dream.
It's kind of bittersweet for me, I guess, because we lose someone like Cory and then I get the chance to get bumped up. So it's good for me, but then, I mean, in terms of for the team, it's a tough loss.
Rusbach has emerged as the big winner from Cory Webster's sudden departure from the club on Wednesday. The 27-year-old securing his first full ANBL contract after career best form in the New Zealand League and being a key scorer off the bench for the Tall Blacks.
Obviously not getting contracted immediately coming off the NZ League season was a little bit disappointing, but I don't really dwell on things too much.
It's been a heartwarming journey for the Cashmere High old boy, considering only 4 years ago he was working as a furniture mover while playing for the Rams.
It was kind of casual work, and then I'd train whenever I could outside of that. So, I mean, working keeps you honest, I guess. I don't miss working, but it was with my friends anyway, so it was fun.
There's a lot more heavy lifting to do for Rusbach and the Breakers, who are at 4 wins and 10 losses at the halfway point of the season.
I don't think we're as bad as our record shows. We've been in a lot of games that we've let slip out. We've been up most of the games, and then we lose it in the second half or in the last quarter.
Rusbach now tasked with resurrecting the tail end of the team's season, starting with a homecoming game tonight.
It's a few days before Christmas. What you're about to watch comes from the Blues rugby team in Wales and features former All Blacks, Auckland Blues number 8 Nick Williams. Williams left New Zealand rugby for Europe in 2008, and 11 years since, he hasn't seen his mom. His team organised a present for Williams. Here are the highlights of an emotional day.
Our spiritual leader, both on and off the pitch, he's really important culturally to us.
He's one of the most amazing blokes I've ever met. Last week, I had a tough day, my grandfather's funeral, and I've never met any bloke like him. He turns up just to show his respect.
Some of us in the room have got family all around the world, and it's tough at Christmas time. Now, I spoke to Nick Williams a while back about his mum has never been here to watch him play rugby. So, mate, just for you, we've got a special message for you on the video from your mum from New Zealand.
From the beginning to the end, dear future mum, I'm so proud of you, son. Heaps of love from mum. God bless you. Amen.
Okay, mate, she's sent a present for you. Up you come, bud. This is your present. Okay? This is your present right here.
Thanks, boys. This means a hell of a lot. Thank you very much.
That ends Shukai Sports. The weather forecast for the next 24 hours when we come back.
Shukai Sports. True Kai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
Weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In the southern region, Port Moresby mostly fine, Daru cloudy with few showers, Kramer fine, partly cloudy, Aloto fine, Popondetta mostly fine. Momase, Ley, fine though cloudy, Madang mostly fine, Wewak and Vanimo a shower or two. In the New Guinea Islands, Lorengau a shower or two, Kavieng fine, Kokopo and Rabaul fine though partly cloudy, Kimbe fine, Buka mostly fine. In the Highlands region, Mount Hagen cloudy with a shower or two, Goroka and Kundiawa rain showers, Mendi and Wabeg a shower or two. Forecast for small crafts for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwa Island to Kerma to Yule Island to Hood Point, Arama Coast to Samara Island, and with waters of Long Island to Karkar Island, Madang to Bogia to Wewak to Aitape to Vanimo to northern PNG Indonesian border, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, with waters of Samara Island to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, with waters of Finschhafen through Vitas Dampier Straits to CSA Island to Long Island, with waters of Manus and its western group of islands, with waters of New Island and Bougainville, and with waters east and west New Britain, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Ocean forecast for PNG areas, coral seas, seas slight to moderate with southeast winds at 10 to 20 knots. Solomon seas, seas slight to moderate with southeast to southwest winds at 10 to 20 knots. Bismarck seas, seas moderate with southeast to southwest winds at 15 to 20 knots. Pacific Ocean, seas slight to moderate with southwest to northwest winds at 10 to 20 knots.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
That's been National EMTV News this Friday, the 20th of December 2019. Have a pleasant evening. Good night.